what happened when we made every man a sheriff in the West was that we all policed the commons for manners. Now, manners function as two things. They function as, in the via positiva, as a promise of cooperation. In other words, most manners ask you to pay a cost. Paying that cost demonstrate you're worthy of cooperation. But these are just suppression of instincts. They're demonstrative agency, which is agency is control of impulse.
Right.
So we're demonstrating we're paying higher taxes. That's really what's going on. These are signals, right? These are costs. And so what happens is you can identify someone's class by the costs they bear in suppression of instinct. In other words, you're demonstrating your agency. Anybody who would pay those costs would probably pay the costs of cooperation. Anybody who will wear a shirt and tie.
Signaling, yeah.
So that's what classes are, is they're just a hierarchy of who's going to bear the most cost of producing commons. And then we used to police the commons aggressively. The point I'm trying to get to is that we're trying to create as much cooperation by suppression of most impulse in order to force people into the most agency, consisting of the greatest cooperation at the highest cost. And only some of us can do it. And it was the status bait that allowed us to do it. Aristocracy created this bait. Okay, so what is it? What assets, norms, traditions, manners, ethics, values, whatever, they're assets. They're no different from having trees or coal or rivers or lakes or highways or bridges or aqueducts or churches and temples. There's no difference, right? Or institutions. Those things may be more important than those physical assets.
Yes.
Because we can replace physical assets. The Germans could rebuild Germany over and over again, but it's really hard to rebuild the assets.
Expensive, yes.
And it takes a long time to grow a human. It's one thing to grow a human with manners, ethics, morals, traditions, group evolutionary strategy. It's worse when you've got to grow a human who's maximizing agency, responsibility, mindfulness, and it's greater when you're trying to raise that person in an environment where other people don't practice paying those costs, because you and I will, all of us, will look around and say, well, they're not paying it, why should I? Which is what we're doing.
Yes, it's degradation.
So what's happening today is whiteness is paying a very high cost. And people are saying, I'm not getting status because of my race, even if I pay that cost. And furthermore, I'm not sure I can pay that cost. More, if I pay that cost, my in-group will exercise me. We're talking about the civilization with the highest suppression of impulse, the highest demand for mindfulness, agency, autonomy, responsibility, and the highest demand for policing of the commons. We're demanding the highest things people are demanded for, and they don't want to pay it. The question is, can they pay it? And the answer is, it's increasingly looking like no. If paying that cost doesn't get you access to the rewards of the economy for doing so, because the level of the economy is such that you can't, in other words, the minimum market demand for ability in the economy is such, then there is no reward for conformity. There is reciprocity if you conform, but it violates the limit of proportionality.
Yeah, it's excessive cost.
It's not like everybody can play the whiteness game.